Hey, shalom, shalom. Anak na waha ay bar sha'ala walakim la thumb. Call shabawai baharacha wakakshaw. Yahweh bahashim Yahusha. Hey, with the Hebrew Israelites coming to you week in and week out through the spirit and power of Yahweh bahashim Yahusha to preach to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, Haitians, and Israelite foreigners. Nacham atam kaya hamalakwath hashemayim korab. Repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Call Halayim La Yahweh Bashim Yahusha Bashim Chahakodash Wama Shana Kabadim Zakoyim Nawa Wamala Akim Shor Yeshua Hazakoyim Chagada Wall Wachasa Washalawam Wabarakim Lahabachaya Shahagabashala Shalawam. That's all praise to the Most High Yahweh, which means He exists. Bahashim, in the name Yahweh He delivers. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Israel, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and mercy, peace, and blessings to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom, which means peace. So it says the root system of Hebrew words. All right. Which there's no couldn't find a word for system in Hebrew, but it would be HaSharash Dabaryam Baibaryath, which is the root words in Hebrew. All right, because when you look into a lot of Hebrew words, they got a root word. All right, and I just want to get into that. Because by the root word, you can actually tell a lot of times what the word is going into. All right. So, and it's some truth to this article, but I'm just going to skim through it, eat the meat, spit out the bones. All right. It says the root systems of Hebrew words. All right. And it says, I looked at this, but I paraphrase it. It says many words have root words in Hebrew. I'm going to skip down from here. It says, once we understand how to properly interpret and define Hebrew words based on their relationships to their root words and the culture in which the words were used, we can properly interpret biblical passages from a Hebraic perspective. All right, and that's one reason why the apostles say to go into the meanings of words, you see, because when we go to Sirach chapter 1 and verse 1, a word is going to have more power in its native tongue. All right, and it also has it has more power in its native tongue. All right, and just going into that, it can mean something different in another language. All right, I'm reading it again. It says, once we understand how to properly interpret and define Hebrew words based on their relationships to their roots and culture in which the words were used, we can then properly interpret biblical passages from a Hebraic perspective. All right. So basically it puts you into thinking about a word, how it was used in the scriptures. It can place you in the mindset of how it was used back in those days. I'm going to get a quick precept. This is Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 16. It says, thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not. All right, and then going into the different words, push you into it makes you think a certain kind of way, and I just want to get into that. But I'm going to keep going in that article. It says, they got this passage right here. This is Shamwath, also Exodus chapter 20 and verse 6. It says, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. All right, let's go to this in the blue letter. This is Shamwath 20 and verse 6. It says, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. All right. It says, our normal understanding of the word keep within this verse is to obey. However, this is not the case. The Hebrew verb used here is shamar, which comes from Strong's 8104, which literally means to guard or to protect. All right. And I'm going to go into that as well, because when you think about a word in English, when someone just reads without any understanding, just reads the word keep, you're thinking about what it means in English, which it means obey. It does go into obey, you see, but it's a little bit more understanding into that. All right, so let's go into that in that verse. And just going into the root word, again, you get the understanding on, what a word can go into. It says to keep, guard, observe, give heed, to keep, have charge of, to keep guard, keep watch, ward, protect, save life. All right. Because these scriptures save our life. It says to watch, wait, because it goes into obeying, but it's more to that. It says to watch, wait for, to watch, observe, to keep, retain, treasure up in memory. All right, so you want to remember the word. All right, I'm gonna get a precept on that, but I'm gonna finish the definition of this. All right, it says to keep within bounds, restrain, to observe, celebrate, keep, Shabbath or covenant or commands, perform. You want to perform them. To keep, preserve, protect, to keep, reserve, to be on one's guard, take heed, take care, beware, to keep oneself, refrain, abstain, to be kept, be guarded, to keep, pay heed, basically taking heed, to keep oneself from. All right, to restrain yourself from. All right, let's get a precept on why you want to keep them in your mind. This is Dabaryam, also Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 4. It says, but ye that did cleave unto the Lord your power are alive, every one of you this day. Behold, I've taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my power commanded me, that ye should do them, should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. It says, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great, who hath the Most High so nigh unto them, as the Lord our power is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I have set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself, and keep thy soul diligently by keeping the word, lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen. And it said, lest you forget, because going back to that word shamar, going into keep them in your mind, unless lest thou forget the things which thine eyes have seen, unless they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life, but teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons. All right, you want to do this because going back to verse 4, it says, but ye that did cleave unto the Lord your power are alive, every one of you this day. All right, so by keeping the word, by obeying, as well as keeping them in your memory, meditating on the word, it keeps us alive. All right, so don't just go into obeying, you see, because somebody without understanding this will see that and take it a certain kind of way and be like, oh, well, it's just telling you to do this. Like they won't actually get a total understanding about the word. I'm gonna get another precept. Well, I'll get it after this one. Going to Dabaryam chapter 31 and verse 20, because on top of keeping, instead of keeping, or on the flip side of keeping, you have breaking. All right, which it means to disobey, but it's a little bit more understanding on that as well. All right, this is Dabaryam 31 and verse 20. All right. Because again, it goes into breaking, but when you go back to the way of thinking, breaking in the Hebrew goes into this right here. This is Dabaryam 31 and verse 20. It says, for when I shall have brought them into the land which I swear unto their fathers, that floweth with milk and honey, and they shall have eaten and filled themselves and waxen fat, then will they turn unto other gods and serve them and provoke me and break my covenant. All right, disobey the covenant. All right, now let's go into this word break, because it says right here, I'm read this right here. It says, they will will turn to other gods and serve them and despise me and break my covenant. All right, so in English, without the proper understanding, you'll think break goes into disobey in totality, you see, but it's more understanding on this. All right, so it says, similarly, our normal understanding of break within the verse is to disobey, but again, this is not the case because it's more understanding. It says the Hebrew verb here is parar, from Strong 65:65. It means to trample underfoot. All right, which that's a summary. All right, they paraphrase that, or they summarize that. So let's go into this. It says to break, frustrate, to break, violate, to frustrate, make ineffectual, to be frustrated, to be broken, break, to break to bits. That's where they got the trample underfoot. Shatter, to split, divide, to split, crack through, to break apart, to be split, be cracked through. All right. And when you go into this, it says to violate, frustrate, anyways, break asunder, cast off, cause to cease, clean, defeat, disannul, disappoint, dissolve, divide, and dissolve also going into trample underfoot, you know. It says make of none effect, fail, frustrate, bring, come to naught, utterly make void. And when you make something void, you making it as it's worthless. So when you stomp on something, you know, outside, you got like some trash or something, you like, yeah, like fuck this, you know. Which essentially, that's the opposite of shamar. You know, if you cherish something, you gonna guard it. You know what I'm saying? That's another definition of guard, of shamar. You gonna guard, you can keep them, you can lay them up. You gonna lay up the the Lord's words. You see, you know, you gonna cherish it. Especially if you retaining it in your mind and you guarding it. You see, and you want to guard it, going back to Deuteronomy 4:4 to verse 9. You know, but without going into the root word, you wouldn't understand. You wouldn't have the proper understanding or the total understanding of what that word is going into if you just stop at what it means in English. All right. So it says to break in pieces, to make void, to bring to nothing, treat it as if it's nothing. It says to be made void. All right. Now let's go back to that. All right, basically right here it says Wahapar Ath Barathia, all right, which is break my covenant. All right, and again, break goes into all those words we just went into. All right. Now let's go back. It says the keeping or breaking of the commandments of the Most High is not about obedience and disobedience, which it goes into that, but again, it's more understanding on that as well. It says it is about one's attitude toward them. We will guard and protect them as we would our family, or we will throw them on the ground and trample them as we would garbage. You see, that's essentially, you know, what we did over time. You see, which that, you know, that's wrong. All right, which the word said to keep it. All right, and just like this right here said, you would keep it. I mean, you wouldn't treat it like family. You're treated above, you know, above your family. The word of the Lord, you know, is all we need. You see, but I'll read again. It says the keeping or breaking of the commandments of the Most High is not about obedience or disobedience. And again, it's more understanding. It says it is about one's attitude toward them. All right, and just by going into what they mean in Hebrew by Baibaryath, all right, you will get a deeper understanding. All right, this is Mashalim, also Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 7. All right, it says wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. Let's read it in the Hebrew. All right. It says Ra'ashiath Chakama Kwana, which means to get, Chakama, wisdom, Bawakal, and withal, Kwanayanka, thy getting, Kwana, Bayana, which is understanding. All right. And when you go into understanding, Bayana, all right, it goes into understanding, discernment, personified. It says understanding, all right, but going into this root word, bayan, to discern, understand, consider, perceive. All right, so you want to get understanding, and when you go into the root word, you know, it's basically understanding, understanding accurately. All right, so you can it says to observe, mark, give heed to, distinguish. So you can have that you can have it precise. You know, this is this and this is this, you know, because if you just get you stick with the word that you know, you know, you don't get the total understanding. All right, and you can get that through, you can get the total understanding by going into, you know, the root word. All right. Let's see, I got one more. Let's go back to finish that article out. It says, the keeping or breaking of the commandments of the Most High is not about obedience and disobedience. It is about one's attitude toward them. We will guard and protect them as we would family, or we throw them on the ground, or will we throw them on the ground and trample them as we would garbage. All right, and that's not what you want to do. All right, that's essentially what got us into this predicament. All right, but let's get the final precept. This is, let's see, this is Moshalim chapter 4 and verse 23. All right, and it says, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. All right, and by getting the root word, going into what the words mean, you know, you're able to get further understanding. All right, aiding in keeping your mind. All right, and really keeping your mind, keeping the word. You see, keeping the scriptures. All right, but let's go into some of the words though. Let's see, going back to, I think it was Exodus 20 and 6. It says, I'm gonna go to Shamar. When you go into this word, it says, keep, observe, guard, give heed, to keep, have charge, to keep within bounds, restrain, basically to guard. And when you see different places, you know, a lot of times that word is actually getting into that a root word, and that root word is going to tell you, you know, what that word is actually getting into. All right, so for example, like this word in Tazapanya 1 and 12. It's a lot. All right, so leads. When you go into this word, you know it's going into those that are settled on their leads, basically that got comfortable settled on their watch. All right. When you go into the word Samaria, you go into the word Samaria, it also goes into Shamar. It says watch mountain. All right, so you know that this word has something to do with watching. It says a watch station, pertaining to a watch, so-called, however, from the owner's name of a mountain and city built on it, which was the metropolis of the kingdom of Yasha'Allah from the time of Omri. But basically, it has something to do with watching. All right, let's get another one. Let's go to this is the word Jericho, Yerakwa. All right, so Yerakwa says it's moon. All right, so it has something to do with the moon. All right, Yerak. And of course, when you go into the word moon, it goes into the month, because the month comes from the word moon. All right, month, calendar, lunation, lunar cycle. You see? So the city of Yerakwa, Jericho, you know, has something to do with the moon. All right, but see, Lord's what I was edifying. I'm trying to do another video, just going into root words, HaSharash Dabaryam Baibaryath, root words in Hebrew. You see, so again, Lord's what I was edifying. I'm called Light Mla Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Kardash. Hey, double honor to the elders and the apostles, great men, so they told me this truth and rule well. And much respect to you, brothers, that are pushing this truth with all righteousness and sincerity. Shalom, shalom, like to watch shalom. Harab Bashar Ma'ite, which is more spirit, less flesh, shalom.